All right, and we're live, ladies and gentlemen. All right, welcome back to another week. I guess we'll start going around the room. It's the old Bill Slosky thing. So I guess Doc, tell everyone who you are and what you've been. Well, we do the what you're doing thing later, I guess. I don't know. All right, just tell everyone who you are and what you're doing.
Doc Sheldon, Intrinsic Value SEO. Basically, I just pretty much focus on technical SEO and hanging out with people smarter than me, which, amazingly enough, is real easy to find.
Not this room.
Kevin, welcome back again, my brother. Welcome to the family, I guess, officially now. You know, I think once you've been in a few weeks, or like you were around before when we were doing them, and now you're back again on a consistent basis. So that makes you like a guru now, doesn't it? Like officially, you're like a guru.
Oh, don't say that. Don't say that. Then I gotta go. Then I'm gonna leave. Kevin Dory. I'm in Dallas, where it's not snowing. Surprisingly, I hear the rest of Texas it's snowing. But I'm the director of search and social for Dealer On, and I've been spending the last maybe a year or so doing local SEO. So.
Very nice, very nice. Steve, wow, we got two Steves again. God damn it. If Plunkett shows up, we're going to be screwed. All right. We're going to go my Canadian brethren first. All right, Steve, what have you been up to, man?
Steve Bonin, Harris Web Creative. I mainly build websites, and I kind of do SEO if anybody needs it. But my niche is really building stuff. I enjoy doing that. Just to throw something out there for you, Dave, I was thinking all the municipalities in Ontario who are saying no to the cannabis stores, I'm thinking there's a real opportunity for SEO for online and mail order cannabis here coming up.
Yeah, which I leave to Terry because really he's a professional at that. As a tester. But yeah, actually, he already owns a handful of domains. Terry's actually got a bit of an angle going on with that, so I'll definitely leave with him. Mr. Guerin, sir. See, I like. How's it going, brother?
Steve Guerin, sir, doing good. Just trying to kill all the mice except for George.
Yeah, George.
Got to keep George alive somehow. Hopefully, he's smart enough to not fall for the same traps that everybody else does. And
and writing again. I saw another post from you this week again.
Scary thing. I'm trying to do one a week and spread the love around, and yeah, we'll see how that goes. See if I can.
Of course, your company is called Steve Driven Media.
Yes. Mostly web development and pay-per-click these days. Not doing a whole lot of SEO, but still doing it when asked. And other than that, just trying to not go crazy when I read stuff in the posts, in the forums, in the groups.
And of course, Tim, not getting evacuated from his house. Good news.
Yes. Well, no, I'm evacuated. We did it voluntarily. Yep. So Tim calling here from a
there we go.
Web design.
Come on.
Yeah, well, Steve.
Where'd it go?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can freaking hear you, man, as always.
Well, no, I couldn't do the thing and the screen end thing, and I had a camera a minute ago, and I'm like, what the flip? Why is my camera not working?
All right, anyways, back to it, Tim. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, that's pretty much it. We are. I'm coming to you live from Carlsbad, which is the next town south and out of the fire's path. So same town as Bill. So
I was going to say, so Bill has no excuse not to be here, so I'll bring it up with him later.
There you go. Anyway, so that's my story.
Nice. And of course, late but never, well, maybe sometimes least. Last but sometimes least, depends what mood he's in, and no camera. But anyway, Steve Plunkett, now that we have three Steves in the house, tell everyone who you are, where you're from, and what you've been up to.
Which Steve? This Steve? All right. My name is Steve Plunkett. I am a senior search scientist for a company, and let's see, I've been doing search since 1993. I've been the lead search strategist on 3 of the Fortune 5. I've worked on SEO for 278 of the Fortune 500. I used to speak on the Black Hat panel at PubCon. And yeah, I think that's about it.
Nice. All right. I don't know. Where should we start? You know, I am tempted to start with this whole over-optimization conversation that we were having in the green room. Again, I guess my beef with that is you know, it's twofold. One, it's a catch-all phrase that SEOs have had forever. That, you know, like over-optimized. I just don't think that teaches anything. It doesn't tell anything. Doesn't speak to anything. Secondly, it's not even a proper word, because to optimize is to be optimal, and to be optimal means that, well, you're as good as life gets. So, like, how do you over-optimize? It doesn't even make sense. But I guess for me, at the end of the day, I just not a fan of generic naming conventions for things that we do. Like, if you're, link spamming, that's one thing. If you're keyword stuffing, that's another. If you're, does anyone here actually ever use the word over optimize? And if you do, why do you use it? Is it just a colloquialism that's easier to use, or is it just ridiculous as it is in my mind? So anybody wants to play with that, go ahead.
I got one. What if you got a 30-character URL? You've got, I don't know, 1,000 keywords, and the same keyword, I don't know, multiple keywords repeated over 10 times each. Is that over optimization?
Or is that just bad architecture? Again, like when if we bucket everything into this one silly term, does that actually help anyone? That, like, especially, and again, I'm talking about it. I heard this in a group of people that are pretty much new and learning and getting their chops and starting off. And to me, starting off's anybody in the first 5 years. I don't see how that helps anything.
If you combine over-optimization with keyword density discussions, I think you've got it pretty much covered. And it's part of that is, I think it is because usually that conversation is held by people who are new to the business, and I give them a little bit of a pass. It's when people who have been doing this for a while jump into the conversation and continue on like it really is.
It's been a thing for what, 10, 15 years? I don't know. It's been around a long time.
Yeah.
Well, that's the problem.
And I'm okay with new people. The people who've been around and should know better that are a problem. And those are the people I jump on.
Well, that's the problem. When people who supposedly know something, who have an audience and people that follow their words, start using idiotic phrases like that, then they're teaching it. Mm-hmm. And the noobs are picking it up and thinking, well, this guy said it, so it must be true. And I think that's what we saw this morning, Dave. But the problem, when you're in a group that has 10,000 people in it, okay, I understand the logic of thinking if you use slang, then they'll understand what you're talking about. But why don't you use the slang to get their attention and then clarify?
Well, and yeah, what does it teach? What does it help? What does it do? Like, I just tell you, well, you're obviously over-optimizing. What the hell does that? How does that help? Give me again. Is it like Steve saying bad architecture? Is it like Steve saying? I love it. This will be easy. I'm just gonna have like a session of Steve's next week, and then I can just say Steve all the time. Kevin, you gotta change your name, man.
If you want to go back to Paisley, I don't care anymore. I'm comfortable with my pattern.
But again, like, so if you're trying to express this concept to somebody, and again, and yeah, if you've got an SEO in-house team, or if you've got a group that you're teaching people to, whatever the situation where you're speaking to other human beings, I just don't find that using that phrase is helping anyone. I just don't. Well, that's obviously over-optimization. How the hell does that help? Like, what does that even do?
Well, I think it might stem from the fact that they can't pinpoint. Either they're trying to come in from a sales standpoint and knock down your competitor. Like if you're coming in and saying this site is over optimized, I don't think they should have just said they put too much focus on link building, or they put too much focus on content, or something like that. But
Kevin, don't you think that term is really synonymous with spamming, essentially, though?
Yes. Yeah.
Really? Can you not just replace the word over optimized with spammy?
Yep, you blew this up. Like, wait, you over-optimized your link profile. You're putting a nice spin on. You're trying to make it sound like you didn't just spam the bleep out of everything, or
The bleep. You know us better, Kevin. It's all right. Oh, that's true. You've got a professional day job.
No, we're on live. I don't know. I never have to bleep, but I should just be one big giant bleep. But it's with the rest of the panel here.
But yeah, I think
I
think it really is kind of synonymous with spamming. You know what I mean? If you're spamming your architecture like Paisley's saying, or if you're spamming it with keyword stuffing, or if you're spamming it with links, it's still spamming. It's not over optimizing. That is such a crock of shit. It's like you are not over optimizing. You're spamming shit.
Right. I agree with you.
It's like negative SEO. It's an oxymoron.
Negative SEO is I broke it. I just figured out how to break it on your site too.
Well, no. well, it's kind of like I was trying to explain to SEO copy. My God, she's gonna hate me because I forgot her name. Italian, most wonderful woman in the world. What's her name? SEO copy on Twitter.
Gabriella.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Gabby. Okay, yeah, Gabby. So, yeah, Gabby and I were talking about this, and it's negative SEO. Like from my perspective, was online reputation management. When there's a bunch of angry comments about Walmart or something, I made them go away. And we created this.
No. Like I literally had a situation with a guy who was big on Google Play, right? He had apps and stuff like that. And, he had like a link profile that had 1.5 million legit links. You know what I mean? Never built a link in his life. They were all legit, this and that. And all of a sudden, 200,000 showed up, with your Viagras and this and that. And within a 6-week period, 200,000 crappy links showed up. So, and then that's something I went right to Matt with. And, I talked to Matt and I was like, okay, bro, like, do I have to worry about this and that? No, there is such a thing as people trying to do what is called negative SEO, and I've seen people try and do it in the real world. Like there is such a thing. Of course, Matt gave me the usual speech of our algorithms pick up this stuff and we're good at it. And I was like, okay.
I've always said you can't over optimize something because quite simply it's either optimized or it's not.
Well, that's why I started with this, Terry, just before you came in. I was like, that's what you and I used to talk about is the word optimal. Well, it means optimal. Like it's not even English anymore when you say over optimize, because that doesn't even make logical sense.
I'm going to start using the analogy of over smoking meat when you're cooking. It's no longer good meat. It's been burnt to a crisp or whatever. You can't you can certainly over smoke it, but that's not what we call it. We call it burn.
Oh, hold on. We have a call coming in. Oh, come on, Terry. If that's you and it's a salesperson, you got to leave it on, man. Remember that, Steve, in the podcast days?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Kevin, when we used to do podcasts, every once in a while, some salesperson would call while Terry was like in the podcast, and once in a while he would forget to like mute it, and listening to Terry go off on salespeople is gold. It was gold. It was so
I mean, if we could get a sales guy with this group, that would be. If we could you hold on a second, sir? We have multiple questions here for you.
Keep him busy. Somebody.
Hi, my name is Stacy, and I do the SEO for companies in your niche. Like, oh, really? What niche would that be, Stacy?
All right, so let's move along. Google has now increased snippet sizes apparently, and I don't even want to get into this whole pixel character count crap. But okay, so we're now from roughly 160 characters up to 230. So I guess the first thing that crossed my mind was that above the fold just got uglier.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Like, because right away now, like that's gonna push it down.
Not necessarily, because a lot of Adobe AEM, Adobe Experience Manager websites use regex, and the max on regex for meta description is 150 characters. So it doesn't matter if you think you can use it. Your system, if you're on Adobe now, which is a lot of really, really, really big companies' websites, you can't go over 150.
Yeah, but don't you think they'll adapt that as time goes on?
Well, I think it's
that's now a thing. Like it was a test originally, now it's a thing because Google's come out and said, "Yep, we're doing it."
Yeah, but what if they change it 6 months from now and you charge one of your Fortune 5 clients $120,000 to go through and rewrite meta tags to be 260 characters on 273,000 pages?
Okay, but when I addressed this, I had a client meeting the other day, right? And I addressed this with her, and I was talking about it, and I did laugh, and she got my point. She was like, I said, this is a great thing for me, and she's like, yeah, because now you get to go back and charge your clients to redo them all. But like I said to her, I said, I don't care about that. And, I'm going to look at our top ranking pages and pages that actually, bring useful Google traffic in. I'm not going to go to every product page and start doing it there because, in her industry, no one's searching for that specific product because they're all brand names, like Amethyst, this and that, and, so on and so on. So I don't really, I'm not going to charge a client to go revisit that. But on pages that are actually ones that we focus on as far as search traffic goes, I definitely have more of an opportunity now to put some more call to action kind of text in there.
Yeah, but most times, if you couldn't get your call to action in 160 characters, you would probably you could be given a paragraph and still.
Yeah, but again, let's say this one given situation with this client, like our number one competitor is number one, but we have two websites that are numbered 2 and 3, and it's for jewelry safes, which is a fairly very short term kind of thing. It's a head term. So maybe now I want to push down the guy who's in the 3rd or 4th spot by going to both of our websites and expanding those meta descriptions to push that shit down the page a little more.
There's nothing above the fold anyhow. If there's a local listing, there's 4 ads, and then there's 3 local pack with another thing underneath of it. There's usually not a listing above the fold.
There's 2. But yeah, it's ads. There's no local in this one, but there's ads, and then there's like 1.5 listings, maybe depending on your resolution or whatever.
But if there's a local pack, forget it. You might not. Second page, you're like, second scroll, you're lucky to get.
Bill, is everything going okay there, man? We're not evacuating you yet. Apparently, Tim's over in Carlsbad with you now. He already evacuated, and so he's moved out. But you're okay.
It's all going on north of me, Oceanside Vista.
Good, because I was kind of watching. I was watching your stream on Facebook today to make sure everything was okay. So
yeah,
good to hear. Good to hear.
So far, so good.
All right, so Bill, since you're here and you're around, for everyone who doesn't know, and my God, if you don't, you might as well just stop watching now and go away. Bill from Go Fish Digital. What are you making of expanded descriptions or snippets or whatever we call it? We want to go. What's your feelings and what are you making of it?
Google announced on the Google blog in 2009 that they were expanding snippets following the Orion method. If you remember that, you remember who Orion is, right?
No click searching, my brother. What was that? 2003, maybe 4, something like that. Yes, he was a guy out of Australia, I believe, and Google bought it. When Google picked him up, all his patents in Australia disappeared summarily.
He was originally from Israel, and
that's right. Yes,
he went to school in Australia, and Microsoft discovered him, started bidding on him. Google found out about that and started bidding on him too. They won. He brought a method to Google of.
Well, if I remember a lot of his papers, because I still think some of his papers exist online, just not the patents, but it was that no-click searching kind of instant answers kind of approach.
Well, Google did publish a patent with his name on it that talked about. I think
Ori Alon, isn't it? Ori Alon, right?
Ori Alon, yeah.
Yeah.
Or Orion.
Well, which is what it became. So okay, so since 2009, this has been a discussion, and so now they're just getting to it, or
it's
official now. Apparently,
started showing longer snippets in 2009, but they weren't all that common. And in addition to highlighted tag words that contain your query terms, they highlighted other terms that were related. If they were somehow related to what you were searching for, they might highlight those. Say you search for Saturn, it might not highlight the word Saturn in that meta description. It might highlight stuff like ninth planet, you know, whatever planet and rings and so on that may be relevant and appropriate. And instead of just 2 lines or snippet, it might be 3 or 4.
So what do you think the motivation is? Like to me, the motivation is somewhat obvious to me from a Google standpoint, which is a little more depth or breadth of scope of information for the user before they click through. You know what I mean? Like I don't see where else the motivation would be with that.
It's making the search results more rich. It's trying to extend the amount
Making
of
them
time.
so there's less need to go to the website.
There's it's trying to make Google like Yahoo, a destination itself.
Well, it already is.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, right? As I would be interested to know what percentage of searches are snippets that Google pulls off the page rather than the description. In my experience, even if you follow the guidelines that I've followed for years, you're still lucky to get your description there.
Well, you know, in that query space I was talking about earlier, Terry, you know, one of the websites my client had only had like, you know, the usual 160 or whatever, and that's what showed up. But another site of theirs, they hadn't, obviously, we're talking the homepage, which I don't actually actively work for, but starting January I do. But they hadn't put anything, and so Google went and gave them the expanded snippet, but pulled it all from the homepage text.
Right. A lot of website designers and creators don't put a lot of information on their sites. Yahoo came out with a patent once where they talked about titles. And they said about 17% of the pages that they came across didn't even have titles. So they had to create them.
Or the designer puts a placeholder and it becomes the title for.
I do a site audit and I look at the meta descriptions, and it's the first 168 characters from the pages because it's too much work to actually create meta descriptions that are unique. And it's easier to grab them off the page from the designer. So what's Google going to do? Grab content off the page because chances are it's going to be at least as relevant as what the site owner put up there.
Yeah. You see that, like you're saying, Terry. We've seen instances where they'll ignore the meta description and just take stuff off the page if they don't find it relevant to what the query was, and that'll even change it. Oddly enough, Bill, I've seen this. I don't know about you, but I've seen instances where for one, like let's say you got a page that's coming out for multiple queries, which is quite common.
Yeah.
I've seen instances where, based upon the query, Google will decide if it's going to show the page text from the page or if it's going to pull that meta description depending on the query itself. So I've seen that multiple times. And
I've seen Google pull headings off the page to use as title.
As the title in the link. Yeah.
I've even seen one instance where, with what you say, when a page was going after different key phrases, where for one query they ignored the meta description and grabbed a block of text off the page. For a different query, they grabbed a different block of text, which in that instance actually was more relevant to that query.
It sounds like a filter because they were spamming the first keyword, so you got the second site, right?
It's possible, Steve.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, certainly possible. It wasn't a real spammy site, but I thought it was interesting that they it seemed as though the algorithm was being selective, and they weren't picking up a keyword in the query. They were picking up something that semantically made some sense. You know, it was more relevant to the query.
Right, and that's exactly what I've seen, Doc. Is that yeah? In like literally for same page coming up for multiple queries, if that meta description wasn't relevant to the query, they'll actually find something from the page and pull that.
And it's been a long time since you've seen Google choose pages based upon content that's distant from each other on the same page. Like from the main content and from phrases that appear in the footer. But they used to do that.
Right.
Well, you mean cobbling together a description from different paragraphs on the page?
Well, let's say the meta description, the title of the page, were relevant to this one query, but a somewhat reformatted, somewhat topically different, but related query comes in. It used to, like, maybe there's a paragraph at the bottom of that page that is more relevant as a description to that query. They would pull that on occasion.
Yeah, quite often they'd grab 3 or 4 words here, 3 or 4 words there. It'd be from 4 or 5 places on the page, which I just thought that may be why they increased the length, was so when they do that, they could grab bigger chunks and put them together. That would make a lot of sense in that case.
Well, actually, I'm kind of seeing that they're doing that in a couple. I mean, I've only done about 3 queries, but I do see they're grabbing sentences from different parts of the page on some of the queries that I was looking at.
Because now
it's a fun experiment. Terry and I have done this before. Back when we started noticing this stuff, like 2010 or whatever, we would literally just leave a meta description out to see what Google would do with it. You know what I mean? Like, and again, it's not even a ranking page because you don't want to mess with your client stuff. But if you go and search that site with a site command or something else, go and search for something that page will come up for, leave the meta description out and just see what Google does with it.
On an e-commerce site, if I have decent descriptions, I don't bother filling them in anymore. If there's good descriptions of the products, you don't need to supply a description for them. They don't use it most of the time anyhow. That's been my experience. It's really hard to get your description. Used to be easy. Just get your keywords that you're targeting in the description, and it pretty well always be shown. That's not the case anymore.
An interesting thing, an interesting experiment would be when you're looking at home pages for someone who's selling, say, three different things, and they have those 3 separate paragraphs on their home page, is to see how Google chooses the meta description or their snippet from the page, and if it has anything to do with the headers on the top of the paragraphs or how they're doing it.
Yeah, again, and that's what I'm saying. Like we've over the years played with a lot of that stuff just to see what's going to happen. You know what I mean? And that can vary, based upon query classifications and which types of queries. Are they informational? Is it an e-commerce site? Is it what type of query it is? Even will have different effects when you play with stuff like that. And again, that's why I joked. That's why I joked with my client about this when we were having this conversation the other day. I said to her, and she knows nothing about SEO. She trusts me fully and just says, "Go do it." And I was like, people in my industry keep saying SEO is dead, and I said, as long as Google keeps changing stuff, I always got a job. She's like, yeah. She's, there is no end to our job, so
I don't.
You got to go out and play with stuff.
I've really seen that using H3 and dividing your content up into subtopics on the page using a proper hierarchy from HTML H1 to H6.
Otherwise known as the DOM, but we won't go into DOM.
I've been seeing more patents that talk about context. about things like context vectors, the disambiguating names patent that just came out that we looked at mentioned context and said they might create context vocabularies about those people. So, and one guy was John Smith, an explorer who discovered a few places, and there was another John Smith who was a botanist, and then said they might collect botany type terms around the one John Smith and expect to see those on a page about him.
Right. So we used to always use that Jaguar thing. So you're saying sort of that concept applied to entities.
Right. So if you're writing about the Jacksonville Jaguars, you include football terms on your page.
Or the name of the stadium, or the street that the stadium's on, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. If you're writing about the car, you talk about
tires, engines, blah, 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 right? So the entity itself starts to get contextually associated with those vectors. Yeah, that makes sense.
You could look at other pages that rank for those and look for co-occurring words or phrases. Google might also look at terms that tend to show up in queries that result in that page and say these are important context terms.
Or even, I guess, Jacksonville itself starts to become vectorized into places to see, into sports teams, into, you know, historical locations, etc. Like the entity itself, Jacksonville, now gets vectorized into different like elements.
And you may see those contextual terms in titles, in snippets.
We're kind of talking about how close 2 points are on the knowledge graph. You take your Jaguars, you know, you got 2 points, Jaguar animal are over here, and over here we have Jaguar football, and the two Jaguars are actually pretty far apart on the knowledge graph.
The
words that are around it.
Yeah, the edit distance between a car and a cat isn't that far.
No, right. Not at all. When you look at neural network studies and crap that they do, yeah, they're not that far off as it begins to, you know, divide it up and where they're going.
It changes based on the device, though.
If I would imagine, you know, I mean, again, I've seen a lot of stuff on how they will treat a mobile query over something else, and or even, you know, temporal queries, times a year and things of that nature. I would imagine, yeah.
Well, if you're at a zoo, it would make sense. You're looking for a jaguar cat.
Oh, yes, good point.
Yeah, and if you're on your mobile phone and you've looked for previous cars in your previous search history, then Jaguar car will pull up above Jaguar cat.
Right. If you're doing a search from the road.
Yep.
Well, it's like one of the examples. One time, Steve, I was reading a patent, and it kind of gave the example of, you know, if you typed in hotels, you know, Las Vegas, and then, you know, you entered that search task, and then you put in the word, the query golf clubs or something, it'll start to mix in golf clubs in Las Vegas with that concept that you might be traveling to this point. You know what I mean?
Top Golf Las Vegas should pull up in that example exactly, and that's exactly what I was talking about. I can't tell you anything more than that.
Here we go, the veiled stuff as always. But yeah, you know what I mean. Like there is, but that place, I think into, you know, Bill can go there far more, you know, with me. But that also plays into search tasks and concurrent search tasks, even in a session. What Google would look at as a session. You know what I mean? Like those kind of things also have different layers of contextual sessions and search tasks and what people are doing, reformatting queries, and even if they're not necessarily topically related, that it's still going to try and find things that, you
know. So here's one. I was listening to the Rolling Stones I don't know, a couple hours ago, and I just Googled Stones, and I think the top seven links are to the Rolling Stones, and we get to geology around number 8 for me. And just by Googling Stones, and it obviously knew that on Google Play, I was listening to the Rolling Stones about 2 hours ago.
Right, and then go over to a friend's house with a different IP, different computer, this and that, and search gemstones, and then put in the word stones and see how it changes, and it will.
And you were telling me one about putting a vacation in your calendar, and then Googling something, and then all of a sudden Google starts pulling stuff about the vacation spot or flights or stuff.
Well, yeah, and that's the whole Google Assistant thing. Sorry, go ahead, Bill.
If you have a couple young kids and they watch cartoons a lot, so you do the search for stones and you get Friend Barney.
Right.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and you know, there was even a mobile patent that spoke of temporal things, meaning, let's say, you know, on major holidays, my parents, you know, I'm outside of Toronto. Let's say on major holidays, I end up traveling to like Calgary or some other part of the country. That the patent talked about understanding temporal movement of somebody. Like, you know, is there like around holidays like Thanksgiving, Christmas, do they tend to go to a certain place? But they even broke it down to like work things. So I'm 2 hours out of Toronto, but every day it's looking and it sees that I'm going into Toronto. It could theoretically start showing me things along my route every day between 9 and 5. So, you know, the patent discussed different temporal natures of the movement of a user. If that could be on major holidays or even golfing, go back to the golfing thing. You know, it talked about showing things about golf places only during the spring or during the summer, as opposed to the middle of December. It's not going to show me those kind of results. And those, you know, so they were equating sort of geographic movement in a mobile nature in context with temporal nature of what times of year that you're searching or moving or going to certain places, or even if it's during the week because you work, you know, 100 miles away from where you live.
So you go to Walmart and you buy a bunch of stuff and you check out and hang on, listen. And then the beacon fires off and you're now.
We just wonder why you're screen sharing the Hangout. That's all.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Because my camera doesn't work. I got to have some kind of groovy visual. Okay. So anyways, so you go into Walmart, you buy stuff. The beacon trips off the minute you pass the cash register. You get outside and all of a sudden your phone says, this shampoo that you've bought previously, based on the fact that it pulls from the app in Google, already says this shampoo at this store is on sale. Well, I'm in the car now. So I think, you know, there's a lot of miscues that we're going to find with entity and geolocation. And sometimes, you know, the time that it finds out that I'm at Walmart is after I've already been there for a half hour and I'm getting in my car, putting away my groceries. So, you know, those kind of things are little tweaks and turks that we're going to have to deal with in the future because of AI's lack of information of the relationship between two objects.
Yeah, but how close, Steve, are we to the fact that a lot of times we end up getting the "were you just there" question? You know, were you just there? Can you tell us about that? And once you start having the user interaction saying "I was just there," then I think it'll be the click of them noticing, yes, you were just there, and then the next week, then you start getting that message when you're on your way there. Are you going back?
No, but we've had guys when we used to do the podcast and have like guests and stuff. Terry, you remember that guy who was part of that Google place, the interior stuff where they take the pictures and things? He was telling us that, you know, those little Google things that they put in the stores now, it can tell you where a product is you might like. And I mean, go down aisle 4 over here. And he was saying, what was it, within 3 feet? I think it was, when like literally they've got stuff in play that they're playing with now that you could be within 3 feet of a product Google might think you like, and it'll tell you within that store where you should go.
If the UPC,
so yeah, I think some of that's on the way. Like again, like you're saying, there's going to be obviously tripping points and there's going to be places, but that's coming. Like that, you know, they are thinking that they're like moving towards that. So
okay. So how about Pokemon Go using UPC codes inside a large warehouse club like a Costco or a Sam Club? Look at it from that perspective. Your camera's searching out UPC codes.
Ooh. My experience has been I go to the store and it comes up on my phone. It knows when I've walked into a store. Now there are some third-party apps. I use a flyer app called Flip, and it will definitely tell me in a lot of large grocery stores where a product is. and fairly accurately. And I gather that grocery stores are actually putting their planograms up.
Yeah, I read an article a few weeks ago about a big box place in Japan, actually larger than your typical Costco, okay? And you put an app on your phone, and you walk in there, what are you looking for? Well, groceries, okay, meat, chicken, and it'll tell you precisely where to go, and the app actually pulls up the planogram on your screen and tells you exactly where to find it. You know, you can look by product, you can look by brand, you can look by price, but it's a proprietary thing. It's a store is put in on their.
You can do the same thing with Lowe's right now. I use it all the time because I can never find anything in there. It tells you what bay, what shelf, what aisle, exactly where things are. Their own employees pull up their phones when you ask them where things are. They'll pull up their own phones to look it up. And then we'll all go to that same spot and I'll go, yeah, I was just here and it's not here. So sometimes it fails, but not often.
I put that link in chat where you actually do that if you have a client that's a retailer and you want to upload their map to Google. Inside their store, I put the link in chat for everybody. Can't tell you how I know that. Keep going, Steve. You were bored. Keep talking.
Well, no, I was just jumping in there because the snippets thing got real old.
Well, here's the thing with snippets, you know, because you can play with snippets, and snippets are easy to do, and you can go backward and forward. Yeah. Snippets. At what point do snippets automatically? If I'm on a desktop, they can't really, but if I'm on a mobile phone, does it read that I have the app and put the app information as a feed in search? That's what I want to know. When does my app, if mobile is first, when do I have a little button up top?
Yeah, but you got to think about the whole Google Assistant approach, something they've been talking about for a couple of years now, which is they want to take us beyond search, you know, so that if you're using voice and you're using Google Calendar and you're using this and that, they're really aiming with this Google Assistant program to make everything ubiquitous. You know what I mean? So I don't even think it's quite when does it show up in search. They almost want us to, you know, let Android be your whole world and manage your world and suggest things to you, almost like they'll be suggesting you search queries in the future as opposed to you making search queries, you know,
right?
No, I don't know. You know, we'll get there, but I have a feeling people are lazy as technology keeps growing and new generations keep getting older, like my kids and stuff. I think they will get there because, you know, unfortunately, people are inherently lazy and they'd rather have technology just do it for them. So I could see them getting
there. Hey, David, does your voice surf on your Xbox still even work, or they just like totally make it obsolete?
Oh no, they've canned what's the little video thing? It's done.
Connect. So I've got
Connect's dead. No, they've discontinued it. They're not even selling it anymore. It's done.
No wonder my voice doesn't.
Yeah, they've nerfed the whole program, man. So yeah.
That honestly, I use the Xbox voice command more than I did Google, more than I do the two Google Home units, the one I have in the bedroom and the one I have in the kitchen. I use
but there was a fundamental issue with it that every Xbox troll would use. Sorry, folks, to diverge here a bit, but this is, you know, Microsoft's version of voice stuff. Is that if a guy had his TV up loud enough, you could yell into your mic, Xbox off, and it would turn their Xbox off. It was the greatest troll ever.
Never did that to anybody in a game.
Oh, dude, I've done it.
I've done it 4 times in Call of Duty. Just like
it's Xbox off. How many guys drop out?
Easiest way to fix spawn campers.
Yeah. So anyways, okay, where do we go next? I don't know. Dave Davies isn't here, so I might just leave this one for next week. Okay, I guess we'd be remiss if we didn't do this because it's big news in the industry this week. Apparently, publications are getting paid to put blog posts up. Did anyone know that? Yeah.
Oh,
No.
Yes. It's a thing.
Oh.
It's true. I'm pretty sure Barry, my boy Barry Schwartz kind of put it like bribe. He put the word bribe in it. It was like, how did we go from paying for paid placements to bribe? Because I'm not sure if bribe's the right term. But anyways, apparently it's news right now. Huffington Post and elsewhere.
Well, the difference is normally that kind of stuff and that kind of material shows up as a. Who's got the washer going? So it shows up as a sponsored article or a sponsored content.
We can't hear you too much, Steve.
Right, and that shows
You
that
walked
way.
away from your mic or something again.
What?
There we go. Couldn't hear you. We're obviously walking around your apartment.
No,
We know.
who's
I'm
got
used
the
to that.
dishwasher going?
Okay. All right, go again.
Who's got the dishwasher going?
Oh, I don't know.
Somebody mute their dishwasher. Anyway,
I don't hear anything.
No, I
can hear it.
heard something.
it's usually Terry.
Yeah. He's muted. Don't say that.
don't say that.
Terry's muted. Don't start him. Anyway, so yeah, apparently it's big news, and Barry put it up on Search Engine Roundtable, and he said it, which means he's getting lots of hits because he said it's big news in the industry this week. So, I'm going to quote the Wall Street Journal guy that interviewed me many years ago when I tried to inform him about what was going on. He said, "Dave, where you been?" So it's not apparently new. That was the Overstock affair. Anyone who remembers any of that back in the day?
Oh,
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was.
Jordan? Didn't Jordan solve that problem?
I don't know. I had somebody I knew that got me in touch with this Wall Street Journal reporter because people in question, Overstock was one of their main competitors, and the CEO of this company was friends with the reporter at the Wall Street Journal, so obviously they didn't want to see any of that get uncovered, so they said, go talk to Dave. And so I get on the phone with this Wall Street Journal guy, and I said, this is essentially one competitor trying to screw the other one, right? And the reporter literally said to me, says, Dave, this has been going on in journalism for hundreds of years. Where you been? And then when I thought about it, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm an idiot.
What's the recent news?
Let me go dig it up. I will get you some exact quotes, but essentially people are paying, like larger corporations are paying for followed links in various, Huffington Post and places like that.
Forbes.
Forbes, yeah. Forbes was mentioned, a few others. Here, I'll give you a link.
Isn't it basically just an extension of an advertising sponsorship where someone gets...
Yeah, but again, if it's the FTC or if it's Google, there are actually, there is a certain amount of transparency that needs to exist or is supposed to exist. But to think that that's, being followed to the letter in the business world is just, silly. Like, I don't know how anyone would think that's not the case out there. Like corporations and people with money circumvent the system all the time. So I don't know.
Yeah, well,
Anyways, over the past few days, the community has been buzzing about an article on the outline named "How Brands Secretly Buy Their Way into Fast Company," Huffington Post, blah blah blah. But again, is it buying your way in? Like if you took a reporter from the New York Times or something out for dinner in hopes that you could get him to do a story on you, then I don't think this is new. Like that. Again, this even predates the internet. Like this isn't even an internet thing. Like promotional methods such as this really aren't new.
What's new about this? I mean,
Nothing to me.
I'm getting emails from people who write for Huffington Post offering to sell me posts for $1,000 for years. Literally years. So it's not the publication selling it. They should. They're the people that
Well,
I
I
would
guess the beef is the transparency. But again, this is nothing new in business. Even
they are being transparent. They're getting they don't know what that author has done.
well, do you think the guy? Do you think
So,
whoever? Do you think who's ever running the corporate voices that exist in media don't have either liberal or conservative slants they push their writers to write about? Even like, is any of this really different or new in our world? I don't think so.
Yeah.
So is that a perfect segue into net neutrality?
No, we're not even going there right now. Sorry, we're not fucking doing that. That's another Ken word. So, anyways, I don't think it's new, and to his credit, Barry Schwartz does say that it's not new. It's just, I guess, again, just another slow news week or something. And a whole bunch of Danny Sullivan quotes. We can't talk to Danny anymore, apparently, because he's with the enemy.
But now Matt's on the other side.
Yep, he's gone to the dark side. Yep.
Danny's enemy?
Oh, Danny works for Google now there, Steve.
He's the enemy? How is he the enemy?
Yeah, Danny Sullivan works for... Yeah, he gave up search engine land and everything.
Wait, really?
Yeah, my wife's smiling. She's happy. Yeah. He got out of the rat race. He works for Google now.
I left you guys all in the smoke.
He left us all in the smoke, says my wife.
Well, that's why he retired from Third Door. Remember that, to go play Star.
Oh yeah, a while back.
Yeah. That was when Google was. He had to quit Third Door before Google could start interviewing him. Makes sense.
But yeah, again, I'm just covering this because it's this week in search, and so apparently it's news. But it's nothing new.
That's weeks ago.
Yeah, Barry's been chatting about this week, so I figured I'd include it on the list.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, Danny probably didn't know what his job was, and
no, I wasn't talking about Danny. I was talking about this paid link.
Oh, the bribe thing. Yeah. Well, no, it's you do it for CEOs all the time.
Pretty sure, folks, if you've ever heard what a PR firm does for a living, that's
what I'm talking about.
The same thing, people.
It is, and there was ad buys and you get 2 articles a month for your CEO to write in our B2B publication. Yeah, great. $500,000. We'll pay it. The client sent him a check. This is public relations.
That's business. That's PR. Yep. Yeah. But I guess the problem is because it's a followed link that,
I don't understand why that's a big deal. And the problem is honestly, I've been doing SEO for 24 years. I've never used nofollow. And if a client has them on their website, I take them off.
Yeah, you either believe in something you're writing about or you don't.
Oh man, there's an article where Rude Hine interviewed me in 2009. I posted it on Twitter
SEO people, no? Was that the SEO people days? There we go. See, I know my history.
Rude is awesome. And in it, I talk about that nofollow was created by Matt to catch all spammers.
Well, no. Originally, it was, I believe, an advertising, Terry, wasn't it? Originally, it was more of an ad thing, I think. That if you had paid,
I always thought it was a tactic for them to see who was things.
Yeah, I think they did.
Because immediately after that, we started seeing people trying to sculpt PR using nofollow, and oh my God, please stop.
Nofollow was originally something that the search engines and WordPress came up with together to stop blog comment spam. It grew from there.
To disassociate yourself from random commenters.
Instead of just not counting the links and blog comments.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is Google's core principle was that washing machine is killing me. Somebody needs to leave. The problem with that is...
Are you at C, Steve?
What?
Are you at C?
Me?
Yeah.
Dude, it's not me. I can't hear. There's like somebody's washing machine going on in the background.
It
stops as soon as you put your mute on.
Nobody said it was you, Gary. We learned that last time. I think my Wi-Fi sucks. I'll be back.
No, it's not you. But yeah, I think it was something going on at Doc's actually, because when Doc muted it, kind of quieted down. So. Yep, there it is.
Yep. I got no noise.
Yeah, it's something to do with your headset or something, brother. It's
Got a
yep.
line hum on there.
No, it's Doc. It's Doc for sure. As soon as Doc
Yeah,
mutes, I
that's
can
a
see the
line
mutes.
hum.
Anyways. So, okay, well, that's news, and we're done with that. And, well, it's not really news, but that's life at Search Engine Roundtable. No news is news.
It sucks when you have to come up with content on days when there's nothing to talk about.
Yeah,
Then
see, I
you
just
should
wouldn't
write nothing.
publish. Yeah, I see. I'm with Terry. I just wouldn't, you know.
Then you should write nothing. If there's nothing to talk about, write nothing. You'll get more credibility if you do that than you write nonsense like this. Sorry.
All right, so you know, I've been back out again, and this is why I disappear for a year at a time, is because Steve and Terry will just laugh at me. I'm pretty sure Doc by this point. You know, I've been out trying to get a feel for the up and coming and what's going on in the world of the SEO industry and various Facebook groups and so on and so on. It's still a sad state of affairs out there, you know what I mean? Which, you know, I don't really care because 90% of these people won't be around in 5 years. You know, they're all just trying to get a quick angle and a quick buck and a quick this and that. But Facebook groups, I guess, is just a different thing now. Like it's you know, Doc, you're out there almost as much as me, and Steve. Actually, I've noticed you out there in some of these groups more than you used to ever be. You know, and you and I come from these forum days, and obviously Bill does. And, you know, there's a whole lot of self-serving crap out there that it's not about educating the industry. It's not, these people aren't out there trying to educate the industry. They're not out there trying to give a shit about it. It's just some veiled play at making themselves a couple of bucks, and you know, that's irritating as all shit, man.
A lot of people join the groups so that they can say, oh yeah, I can help you. Send me a message or direct DM me.
Yeah.
Me.
Doesn't that remind you of the old forum days, Steve? That PM me or PM sent or whatever, right? And you just know what that PM's gonna say, right? It's gonna be like, blah blah blah. Check out my course. Check out my ebook. Check out my PDF. Check out my.
I think I may just start auto banning people who do that.
That's why I refuse in those groups when somebody comes up and says, "Hey, we're looking for an SEO or we're looking for a copywriter." I refuse to respond 9 times out of 10 unless it's somebody I know. And I'll usually wait to see if anybody else responds first because it just feels so self-serving, you know.
Well, they are, and I find so few of them truly helpful, truly educational, truly passionate about this industry and giving a shit. You know what I mean? Like there was that secret SEO one, Doc. Were you part of that, the UK guys? I mean, I liked, you know what I mean? Like, and a lot of the people you and I know, Terry, from the dojo and stuff, were in there. That one's gone, you know, quiet. And so now I'm got all these different Facebook groups of people that are just, you know, just veiled selling machines of selling some course or some latest thing. And, you know, Doc and I know because one of these people we had in a little private chat on Skype and stuff. And Steve, it was just like the old days. They barely know anything, and they're selling courses. Yeah. It's like, oh my god.
Yeah, what they're doing is they're buying a course,
revamping it, regurgitating it. Or
what do you call it? PLR, private licensing rights.
Yep. And just like the a warrior forum.
Yeah, I remember those. That's exactly
where all these guys were selling the same
what it's
stuff
like,
to each
man.
other.
I had forgotten about Warrior Forum, but that's exactly what a lot of this is like. You know what I mean? They're not truly places for people to impart knowledge and experiences together. At the end of the day, there's just, you know, some element of I'm selling something or I want something for me. It's not about the industry. It's about me. And, you know,
it's just a space at a flea market.
Yeah, and it's you know, this is why I get frustrated and, you know, eventually walk away. It's a sad thing. Like what is left? Like, I know I haven't been by the Moz in a while, but I'm assuming that's all still the same. What is really out there anymore? Like, is there really anywhere out there that's you know, obviously, Bill, you know, we love you, and you do a great job of giving without receiving, but you're speaking Greek to 98% of these people. You know what I mean? Like I try to even bring up the simplest of information retrieval concepts to a lot of the, you know, generation out there today, and they just glaze over worse than ever and don't want to hear it. You know, they want to use little catchphrases and little terms, and it's just, you know, if I hear great content one more time, I want to kill someone. I swear to fucking God. And all a part of build. Like Alan's out there too. Like I've seen Alan trying to put out some fires lately, and you know, like somebody posted in one of these groups, they were like, "Can you give me one good video about technical SEO?" Alan was like, "Are you kidding me?" He's like, "That not only wouldn't that fit into one video, but you could make 10 videos and not even come close to touching it. And you know, it doesn't work like that. You have to, you know, do some homework and then go out and get experience." And again, you know, Steve, if that's an internship or if that's taking a low-level job with a company that knows what they're doing, I don't think you can really go into any of these groups and answer 90% of the questions people are asking, like, properly without writing a fucking book. And even then, without the experiments of implementation, what's that really going to do?
Well,
everyone just wants to push that big red button and here's my answer. Here's how you do SEO.
Yeah, and some of the questions are just as stupid as what you'll find on Quora.
Yeah, well, might as well be.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's irritating, but I still, you know, like we were talking before the show, you know, that you know, I got called an SEO Nazi today, Bill.
What? No.
Yeah, because somebody used the term over optimization, and I tried to explain to them that that is not a thing. It's not a term. It's not a reality. It's a catch-all SEO phrase for a zillion different concepts. But saying that doesn't help anybody. You know, you need to, you know, is it, you know, and generally speaking, like we talked about in the green room, over optimization is essentially saying you're spamming. You know, it could be keyword stuffing. It could be, you know, whatever. But
it's an SEO Nazi approach.
Well, it is. Yeah. You know. And I'm guessing that, you know, this is obviously a Seinfeld thing, but I even said to the guy, "You really know what a Nazi is, bro?" like I'm not really being you know, like, is that even the right word to use here? I don't know. You know, it's a little irritating, but again, it's that big red button approach to SEO, that cookie cutter, that need for everyone to just push a big button and make it happen. It's not going to work. You know, again, I think SEO is far more, I guess, multifaceted or whatever you want to call it than it was 10 years ago. I don't think SEO is actually easier. I think there's so many other considerations that we didn't have 10 years ago. There was so many architectural and mobile and speed and this and that and usability, and there's so many other things that play that weren't in play 10 years ago. That
SEO,
it's actually more difficult.
There's so many SEO experts who spout garbage and get praise to the heavens. You know, Brian Dean gets a PhD in biochemistry and becomes a link builder, and people can't say enough good things about him. And it's like, he can write well sometimes, but he writes crap.
And that's it. Is like, again, everyone just wants to suck it up and not think. Again, I think it seems like almost every week we get back to this, but it's like people don't want to use their own brains. They just want to have spoon-fed something and just give me it. I'm going to go rank my clients and
he's developed the skyscraper method where he ripped off some guy's 200 ranking factors from Google. This guy Vaughn wrote 200 ranking factors from Google. Brian Dean rips it off and says, "Oh, Matt Cutts said this. We know Matt Cutts lies, so that must be a ranking factor too."
It was funny. I was looking through my blog today, Bill. Back when you were Snark NATO a couple of years ago, I was looking through the Dojo blog today, and there's this post there called the 201st ranking factor. Shut the fuck up. Yeah, you know, and it's still pervasive. It's still out there, and it's just regurgitation or quick bucks. You know, like I don't I hate to say it, but I think if you're out there selling some SEO course or something like that, you don't even have the time to be working with clients to really understand what's going on and what works and what doesn't work and so on and so on. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have the time. Like, even the dojo's gone to the wayside because I don't have the time to keep updating content and putting stuff out there. So what I've decided to do with the dojo is just create a networking opportunity and make sure that it's just people of value, and that's it. Because where do you find the time if you've got some course or you've got some system, or like, what was that one today? I lost my shit on them. It was what was it? It was killing me, man. I loved it. Where is it? Oh, Doc, you still here? Did you see that one today about the, like, and they're not even moderating their crap, which killed me. Oh yeah, here it is. Here it is. Yeah, it's the weekly SEO, and it's groundbreaking SEO package of 2017 official launch. Yeah. So I said, you're not redefining, because they were okay, because the guys in this little bullshit in this group said they were redefining, I kid you not, the standards of SEO. I said, bro, you are not redefining the standards of SEO. In fact, you're not even redefining the standards of your own link spam. Crap like this only benefits you and does little more than put at risk those that are foolish enough to use it. If your crap was so goddamn awesome, you should be able to, you don't need to be spamming groups such as this, right? You should be dominating the SERPs with your program and have money rolling in the door. So fuck off. Like, it's like, you're kidding me, right? Like, if your groundbreaking shit is so good, why do you need to spam people with it? Like, it doesn't even make sense. Like, if it's so awesome, why aren't you owning the fucking SERPs? Apparently you're not, because you got to spam these groups. And it just, and I know that's always been there, but again, I'm just having such a hard time finding quality conversations. I mean, they're, obviously, we your hangout on Tuesdays and stuff, I have a great time, but there's just so little of that. I mean, there's just so much less than there ever was before. People are just getting lazier and push buttony and cookie cutter, and I don't get it.
There's not much in the public domain, but lots of that going on elsewhere. I mean, after a while, you get tired of everybody using your stuff, basically. Why would I share it with just anybody now? We've been doing this so long, we have insights nobody could have. Somebody who started even 10 years ago doesn't have the insights that someone like Bill has, who's been studying in search engines very closely for what must be close to 20 years. So just seen so much that,
Which, and that's why, like, Terry, you've walked this with me, Doc, obviously you have, we've been walking this walk for a long time now. I see Bill has. But I don't even understand personally how, without some at least basic knowledge of information retrieval, you can go out and do SEO and understand what happened, what just went on there. Like, why did my rankings increase, or why did this happen, or what's going on here? Like, Terry, you always gave me SERP out and stuff. How do you even understand what's going on in front of you to be able to adapt it, to be able to, use it with other clients and so on, if you don't even know how a search engine works? Like, that's the thing that when I first came across Bill 2003, 4, whatever, drew me to Bill was because I was in web development, just like you guys are, you know what I mean? Everyone here is a web developer. And I always used to say to my wife, she'd be like, Dave, like, I'm talking like 14, 15 years ago. Like, my wife would be like, Dave, what's with this SEO stuff? Why are you getting all excited? And I would always tell her that these SEO people are basically the same as a web developer not knowing HTML. Like, it's like they're talking these ideas and concepts, but they don't even know how a search engine works, which made no sense to me. That's why I followed Bill, and I went down the path I did as far as understanding information retrieval. And that's why, my patents, papers, I watched, as you guys know, I have a playlist full of various seminars from, Stanford and shit. Because if I don't even understand how a search engine works, how in the hell am I even doing SEO? Made no sense to me. But that's still 98% of our industry. Makes no sense. I don't get it. Like, how can you do it if you don't even understand how the thing works?
I kind of attribute it to when I started because I started looking for a certain mail program, and it was called Pegasus, and I found everything but it. So I decided, well, why can't I find this on a search engine? So that's how I got into it. Just figured it out. Like when I started, there was the only place I knew to talk about this was on the HTML Writers Guild. I think we had like a subgroup that talked about promotion and whatnot. And then iSales came along. And from that came iSearch. And that's when people started trying to figure out what search engines were doing rather than trying to spam them. Like in the early days, we realized if you understood the technology, you didn't have to spam. You just had to build good content. And that's still true today. It's still a combination of good content and promotion. That's the bottom line. Yeah. So, like, I've been doing this a long time, and it really hasn't changed that much. Like, when you think about it, and this is what blows my mind. Me and Bill talked about it briefly in the bogus hangout, that disambiguation is one of the biggest problems that search engines have had from day one. And that's, knowing the difference between a Jaguar cat, a Jaguar car, and a football team. They figured that out. They kind of know now. And part of it is they've collected, in my opinion, they've collected so much data over the years on those ambiguous query spaces that's what they're using to flatten it all out. In other words, if you look at that query space over the years, which I wish you could, you would see a whole bunch of stuff. But now, because most of those queries, I believe, are on cars, if you search there, it's giving you Jaguar dealerships in your area. There may be a small box for where they include a couple of Jaguar cats, and then they have the box right under the knowledge panel that shows you where they've disambiguated, and it gives you a link to Wikipedia.
Of course, the conspiracists out there would say, well, that's because the car dealers buy a lot of ads and cats don't.
Yeah, well, they're idiots, aren't they? They're idiots. It's how many people really search for Jaguar the animal? I think it might be a few kids in school, but that's it. How many people are searching on Jaguar cars? And how many would have queries associated to cars rather than animals? I could see a biologist getting that would be
right. But and again, Google's going to focus a lot on reformatting of queries, right? Because if they're not going to, like you're saying, let's look at the query data and the click-throughs and whatever. That okay, if they reformat it to be more definitive of that animal, that football team, that operating system, whatever, I'm pretty sure they understand that queries like that are going to get reformatted. So,
but how do I say this? When you look at that query space has been localized, meaning, not just the local pack is local stuff, it's all local. And they've localized those packs. It's
Right,
really
because
hard to describe it.
does Jaguar the animal become a reformatted query of big cats or something of that nature, like you're saying, like a student or someone? I bet you that's probably the case. I would I would say there's probably less of a search task initialization just on Jaguar. Well, there might be, but they're gonna they probably understand from their own data sets that you're gonna reformat that query to be more specific.
And
Like I remember when my kids were 9-10 years old, and I'd say, how do you search Google or whatever? They would have like 4, 5, 6 word queries. Even back then, they understood that you don't just put 2 words into Google. That's not going to get you anywhere.
Right.
Like they knew that they had to put 3, 4, 5 words into a query just to get what they wanted out of it. Because they're generally doing informational queries because their kids are not, buying anything. So
yeah.
We're to the point where search engines are now looking for canonical versions of queries. How people usually ask for something when they ask for it. What words they use, how they phrase that question.
Yeah, help them reformat. If it's Google, people also searched for, or if it's the instant queries when you start to type in and they fill them in for you. Yeah, for sure. Like they've definitely taken that data and tried to make a better user experience with it.
And of course, the context in which the search is made in the session is important as well. So if you were searching for something, related to animals, and then you search for Jaguar, I'm pretty sure you're going to get quite a few cats.
Right. Right. So that becomes the search task, becomes part of the search task, the search session, and understanding the context of a query through that task or that session.
Yeah. That's why the ones I find really are ones where they still haven't quite got it figured out. I am familiar with one of those, and
which of course brings you back to that myopic approach to modern SEO, where everyone's just looking for that head term or whatever, or the long tail, my long tail strategy, or my this and that. When you don't understand how search engine works and how users even work and how sessions work and how tasks work within a search engine and how people get to that page, maybe not through what they're thinking in old school, like I'm focusing on these keywords with my client, or I'm focusing on this long tail strategy. That, to me, that stuff's almost archaic to a degree, to have a strategy.
It is. Even the numbers are really, I look at it and I've taken to calling it keyword prioritization rather than research, or because I think that's what you're really doing is prioritizing.
Well, and even taxonomies. Like, one thing I know Bill's talked about for many, many, many years, because he's in love with the knowledge graph and knowledge bases and things of that nature. Bill's always talked about kind of a taxonomy in your approach, and I think that plays into it. You know what I mean? Like, is that kind of how you look at things with like audits and shit, Bill? Like, as far as a graph of knowledge, a taxonomy of information?
Here's something that I did. Well, I think
I didn't even know your name was Bill. Wow, that's weird.
I made one simple change to a website and went from page 6 to page 2.
Nobody cares about page 2. Anyways, Bill, do you even look at that kind of stuff? Like, let's say you're doing a content audit as part of your audits, Bill. Like, are you looking at taxonomies? Are you looking at, how information architecture is being presented on the site?
It's something that had a client ask us to do recently. And I redesigned an audit to include that type of stuff, to include context, to include co-occurring terms.
Yeah, see, because that is something I really do look at. You know what I mean? Like, not straying too far from a given path or trail or whatever you want to call it.
No, it makes sense. I've been trying to incorporate knowledge graph type stuff into audits for a couple of years, but it makes sense to go further with it than that.
Because, you know, even if you get into like the EAT stuff, you know, expertise, authority, trust, and so on and so on. Even if you look at like the Google Raider guys and EAT stuff, not straying, like keeping those knowledge taxonomies and that information presentation within some sort of formal structure, I think even will lend you into more of that expertise, authority, trust kind of angle. You know, that it's not, you didn't just do a one-off blog post or a one-off evergreen piece of content. You know, you just didn't leave it out there in the wild. You're building upon it and increasing upon that base of knowledge. And I like that approach, and that's something I like to use. So. You know, even Doc, you're the writer, so you know, Doc, you know, I know obviously you're at the whims of clients a lot of times as a writer, but do you suggest stuff like that? Do you try and build out a, you know, that kind of a beefy little section? Again, if it's blog or if it's evergreen or whatever.
Absolutely, yeah. You know, I focus heavily on context because I'm trying to keep them from, like for instance, on one of my own sites, I've got a services page where I list 8 or 10 different services that are not terribly relevant to each other. Okay, that's going to confuse a search engine. Then I have a page for each one of those individual services. I'm never going to rank the services page. I need to rank those individual pages. And you know, so context has become everything. But yeah, you know, I focus a lot on the entity and relevance. You know, thinking in terms of semantic ability as the algorithms gain more and more ability to understand what a page is about. I want to write to that.
Had a client with an apartment complex, and they were trying to sell apartments. They had a 4-page website. They were in Northern Virginia. They were right above the DC Metro. And it made sense to talk about the location more, to explain that the Metro had 91 stops at 17 different Smithsonians and airports.
Is that the one you were talking about with the daycare? You brought in the daycare and the other stuff relative to that region and that entity. Is that the same one or same approach, different place?
You've got to let people know why that, you know, this apartment complex, you take an elevator down to the basement, you're in the DC Metro. You're right next door to Pentagon City, which is the largest shopping mall in Virginia. Most people don't realize it's a 4-story shopping mall that's underground that is huge. They don't know it's there. You have to let people know that. Otherwise, why would they move there? They wouldn't. I mean, you have the world headquarters of Lockheed Martin. If you're an employee and you're in Northern Virginia, you recognize that people don't want to commute on DC roads. It doesn't make sense because it takes forever to drive from DC to Reston. You know, it's stuck in traffic forever.
I had a e-commerce situation where the guy was selling like memorabilia. So I mean, the 21st Super Bowl blah 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 memorabilia. Yeah. He had very basic descriptions on the product pages. So I went back and looked up what happened in that game. The last 5 minutes of the third quarter, so and so made a pass. This and that happened, and I beefed out those actual product pages with information about that event. You know what I mean? And it worked like a charm. You know what I mean? Like that brought it surface stuff because it was more of a value add compared to everyone else that was trying to sell shit in the same vein. By adding informational value add to that event or entity or whatever in an e-commerce situation, even that worked.
Can I ask a question about this? So if you're trying to rank the homepage and you have the related topics or whatever on what I call interior pages, and then what about social media and off-site stuff that is obviously related to the company? Does that go into the mix, or is it so far afield that it doesn't matter?
Go into the mix in what way?
Well, what you're saying is that the homepage will rank it's on its own.
You know what can actually happen, which is one of the biggest mistakes that many clients make, especially with bigger authority sites, is regurgitating their homepage information on their social channels. Because oddly enough, you could get outranked by your Facebook page because Facebook has more authority than you. Like I'm a big believer in unique text on your social channels. Mostly it comes into play with like brand searches and things of that nature, but but that's more of a brand lift play, but other than that, no, I don't think it's gonna play a huge thing unless someone's doing a navigational or a brand search. I don't think like on a keyword level that's gonna be an issue.
So you're better off to build out more evergreen pages on the actual website than you are to go out to social media.
Again, yeah, I would personally, unless of course you've got a ton of authority already, and that's fine. So the play is social. But if it's a search play as opposed to a social play, and again, you want to have both working together. But that's almost like everything situational. Like I mean, if you're trying to leverage, if you've got a strong social presence and that's where you're focusing things, then go that way. If you got a search presence, then you know what I mean. I'm not as apt to try and lean on that too much.
We ran a campaign with the limo service where they created a map of places that people got engaged in DC. And they knew because they would drive people to these places and people would get engaged. So we created a map of popular places that people would get engaged in DC and put it on their social channels. It created an awareness of their brand, and it helped people recognize them.
So why did you use it on the social channel and not as a page on the site?
It was a map on the site.
Oh, I see.
And the social channels linked to the map on the site.
Right. Okay. Great idea, by the way.
Yeah.
Well, you can also take content on Facebook and show. You can take content on your site and show it on Facebook. And it's attributed to your website because it's an inline frame.
Say that again, Terry.
Facebook apps are inline frames. You didn't know that?
Oh, okay. You're talking about the like box and in putting the like box on your website.
No, you can on Facebook, you can create apps which are just an inline frame that pulls in something off your website.
Oh, right.
But you don't necessarily have to do that. It's like building a layer that doesn't need to quite exist. You can still link to what's on your page without having an inline frame.
Right.
And still get a lot of value from it.
Oh, for sure. I'm just saying that that's another way to leverage that is to build an app on Facebook and have it there as well.
Right.
Promoting it. We did a lot of that with another company I worked with.
Hey guys, I got to bounce. I got to go pick up a kid at school.
All right, man. Yeah, okay. 2:30. Okay, hour and a half. I'm gonna kill it. Anybody still watching? The Green Moon will be open. Maybe, possibly. We'll see. As long as Bill's not running from fire. And all right, Bill's here, so I have to do it. All right, let's go around the room and everyone tell us what you have over the next little while. I feel bad now. Like ever since I've been going to the bogus hangouts, I feel like guilty because I never did this. But all right, so Bill Slosky, what are you up to over the next while other than running away from fire?
Guys?
I'm keeping an eye and make sure I don't have to evacuate.
That's a good call.
Yeah.
Every week, 3 o'clock Eastern, 12 o'clock Pacific. Ladies and gentlemen, just go to Google Plus and look for Bill and Ammon's Bogus Adventure. That is the other place to get informed these days. So he's just too nice a guy to promote it, so I'll do it. Mr. Doc Sheldon, what are you doing other than me keeping you busy and referring you and giving you work and otherwise just making videos?
Just trying to wrap up a couple of projects and a new client site. I've got active plugins on a WordPress site. Can't understand why it's taking 8 seconds to load. So going through and trying to tweak that, getting down to around 2 seconds or so.
And Mr. Van Horn, what are you up to other than being someone that the search industry salutes? I am so doing that.
I'm doing a little programming this week. Discovered I'd already written an events program that's spinning out structured data around the event already. So I just have to.
Well, I'm happy for you because I remember like 4 or 5 years ago when you were just cursing about PHP MySQL. You seem to be at home now.
Oh, yeah, but I'm actually working now with back on the Windows.
Are you?
Yeah. And,
well, that's where you're comfortable, man. That's where you're best, you know.
Well, it's not just that. It's
that's why Terry hasn't been talking to you lately. He's gone back to Windows again.
Well, I actually believe that WordPress runs faster on Windows than it does on Unix.
There you go.
Yeah. And
all right, folks. Again, just go search it up on Google Plus. Bill Slosky's got stuff going on every Tuesday, and we'll be here every Friday, hopefully until I get tired of doing this shit again. So thank you for everyone who's come out, and we'll see you next week.